All right. Call to order the Village Board Meeting Committee of the Whole for October 28th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Woodside.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Garner. O'Brien.
Present.
Thomas.
Present.
Torstenson.
Here.
5 present, 1 absent.
I'll stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a couple items on the agenda for tonight. So the first item is a presentation of the 2023-2026 Strategic Plan Progress Report number 3. Pat.
Sure. So just a reminder, approved this strategic plan, this version of it, back in late 2022. We do regular progress reports on about a 6-month interval. So we'll do one in the fall, late fall, and then the second one is with the annual budget process baked in the budget. So had a first report back in August 2023. Then it was updated along with the budget presented March 11, 2024. So this is progress report number 3. As we've done before, you've got the main folks that are responsible for the initiatives here. So they'll kind of run through quick each one, give some progress as far as what's been made since the last update. And then if there's questions along the way, we can take those before we move on to the next one and run through those quick. And then after that, we've got a presentation on the Small Business Capital Investment Grant Program, a quick update on that. So with that being said, we'll get rolling here with the strategic plan update.
Sure. Thank you, Pat. The first one, Initiative 1.1, this is under fiscal sustainability. Did make some progress here. Really what we're trying to do with this one, develop fiscal growth and redevelopment strategy. From a finance standpoint, we're trying to take the data that we can put together, meld that with what Ellen does to come up with the right mix and be able to target business attraction retention efforts. Made some progress on a couple reports here. The first, number 2, was develop a Big 3 report. That one is done. I haven't published it yet. Working on, at the end of this year, we'll have some renewed data for calendar year 24. And at that point, I'll get that finalized, updated with the new data, and then out to Ellen for feedback, revisions, anything that else she may like to see. Did work with GIS to put together some heat maps. That one actually comes with a couple initiatives here. One was a tax type map, and then a business type map that we had put together, some bubble maps, and it has an intensity on tax generation for each tax type and things like that. So definitely made some progress there. Again, got to the end of the year here, so we'll update that in the next few months with calendar year 2024 data. Ellen, you want to hit on?
Sure. For number 5, so I think it'll be very interesting. This map that Brian was referencing will overlay with Placer AI data. So I think we'll just end up with this sort of multi-layered, tracking where our visitors come, where they go, and trying to figure out that will factor into our decision about what those target properties ought to be and what kinds of uses would be the most efficient and impactful. So just an update on the Triangle site. You all are familiar with the Triangle site south of Six Flags. Our efforts are sort of in the same vein that they have been for a while. That's the 44-acre site, all under common ownership. You'll recall that we created concepts for a mixed-use entertainment district. We've had some very interesting discussions with developers over the past year. We continue to advertise this site on LoopNet, which is sort of an enhanced listing that the village pays for. And it has attracted a variety of prospects from sports-related to a mixed-use resort spa sort of concept. So just a really interesting mix, and we're filtering through those, frankly. I mean, with the property owner and with his advisors and with our own knowledge of the market and what makes sense. We're understanding where those make sense and where they don't, and what pieces to really focus on and which ones not to. So that's still very much in progress. Probably just to kind of set the stage. Multifamily is part of that concept plan. It's the minor player in the concept plan. In our plans that we developed, it's pushed over to Milwaukee Avenue because that's where it's adjacent to residential, and that's where retailers wouldn't necessarily be as excited about being, right? They want the Washington Street frontage or the highway frontage. So keeping that in a tight footprint along Milwaukee makes sense, but just to kind of, I guess, share what we think we'll see. that piece of it probably comes first. So it was starting to look like that just based upon some of the conversations we've been having. These developers understand our vision. They understand that we want to lean into our entertainment brand and build a big fourth. But they also are realistic about what the market is building today, and that's, multifamily. We're sort of in a chronic need for that, and so to get the cash flow going, that's something that they can do. So we made this, like with any 44, any big site like that, it's not all, typically doesn't all happen at once. It's an overtime sort of thing, so wouldn't be surprised if we come back at some point and say, well, there's a multifamily piece, and then it fits into the bigger context of everything else that we want to see. And that would certainly be consistent with what we had envisioned. So on step number 7, we have a list of available properties at all times. That's something that we keep, and it's available to us through a third-party source. This year, in 2024, that list has gotten a lot shorter because we've had quite a bit of absorption of major properties that, and whenever we're looking at, we try to focus in on the ones that are larger, potential for more impact, and a lot of those, frankly, have found users this year. Think Saturn, think the 11 acres on the north side of Grand Avenue, think the former Anthony that became McCullough, this was 2023, but the former Joe's Crab Shack and the Outback. And so a lot of these properties that have been there, staring at us vacant for a while, Toys R Us, Baker Square, have gotten absorbed. So it's been good from that perspective. So that list is shrinking a little bit. A good developer, will check with us when they first come to us with a property in mind, and they'll say, what would the village like to see? And so I guess that's kind of what this step speaks to, is engaging with each other and with the community on those few remaining, and then in the cases where we're looking at redevelopment, like on East Grand, what do those want to be? What does the market want them to be, and what does the community want them to be? So, okay, on to the next initiative, Brian. And I think, I'm sorry, David.
Okay. Thank you. It's hard prying the microphone out of Ellen's hands sometimes. So initiative 1.2, develop and implement a business attraction plan. The action steps, number 1, conduct assessment of permitting and zoning processes. With recent changeover in the zoning staff, it's been a little bit trying to forge ahead. So we've been maintaining. We do have a couple of projects that have been identified that we're working on. One is large garages as accessory structures. So we've had a couple of examples of what could be considered as, overdevelopment of residential sites. So we've asked for a moratorium. The village board granted that, so we're kind of in a pause while we're doing some research on that. And we'll be coming back in the next few months for some proposed modifications to the zoning plan to try to limit the overbuilding of accessory structures on project sites. Likewise, our landscaping buffer requirements that we require for our commercial corridors, we found that those have been a little bit light over the years since the new ordinance has been developed. So we're going back and looking at those, trying to develop a better plan for the areas where we have enhanced buffer landscaping along some of our major corridors. So those are 2 examples of zoning rewrites that we're working on right now. The building code, we kind of jumped from the 21 building code series to the 24 building code series as we got later and later in that review process. So the 24s have been out, most of them. I just got the last, the residential code just came in about 3-4 weeks ago. So we're going through those codes. There are 8 codes that have to be adopted. 2 of them are brand new this year. It's the International Green Energy Code, as well as the International Swimming Pool Code. Both of those have taken portions of other codes out of the main codes and created their own separate code. So it's not a lot of new information, but it's just a better organization of that information. So we are evaluating those from our existing and then all the interim steps that have been written since that time in hopes of getting those to you this winter. Let's see. So I think that covers pretty much items 1 and 2. Yes, so I will hand it back to Ellen for some more discussion.
One-sided discussion. Thank you. In steps 3 and 4, I think we really touched on this list. This map of target properties is underway. It will be an evolving sort of thing. The business category heat map that Brian referenced, also underway. And I think the last, let's just jump to step 6, which deals with incentive types for the target properties. Once we have these maps that show target properties, some communities call them spark sites. You know, we will call them opportunity sites, whatever the term may be. There certainly is a range of incentives, and they depend on a variety of factors, whether it's in a low tax base or it has a relatively high tax basis. If it's a sales tax generating entity or it's really not. If it's eligible for enterprise zone or it's not. So evaluating all those things will come after we've narrowed down the list in the map. Okay, on to initiative 1.2, develop and implement a new business attraction plan. David spoke to the assessment of permitting and zoning processes. Is that something else you'd like to add to? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I'm behind you. Okay. Retention. Matt will speak this evening to the SBCG program, the Small Business Capital Grant Program, which has been a tremendous success. So I will refrain from going into detail on that other than to tell you thank you and to just, because I have the benefit of a little of the history of the program, just to kind of remind everyone that it was implemented in about the middle of fiscal year 2022. So really 3 years ago. So we're in the 4th fiscal year of that program, but really in the 3rd full year, and that program has awarded over $780,000. So I know that's different than the number you see on the screen there, but we've done some refining today to make sure that that was correct, and funded 50 businesses. And those projects funded by those grants have leveraged about $4.2 million of investment into the community. And probably as important as all that is very much appreciated by the small business community, which you'll hear from Matt when he goes into the details. In step 3 of that initiative, develop a business communications plan. This is something that, of course, we always, like we do with so many things, it's a team effort. Matt Trujillo sits on the village communications team. We have great continuity with our Gurnee's Got It and Lynn Grandstrom with the chamber, so that the messaging that we're giving out to the business community is real consistent thanks to the same involvement of those people. And we've really developed our outreach through Tom's Tours. I think we've hit a lot of businesses through those visits as well as through the ribbon cutting. So the communication is there, and we do issue business partner letters periodically, which we still continue to do that. Those evolved during COVID as being very important, and we have continued them periodically ever since. Step number 4, developing a business group. So obviously we have the chamber who's very strong and Visit Lake County that's very strong. And the types of businesses that they serve and attract are sort of distinct. And so there are some businesses in town that don't really fit within either one of those membership type groups. So I really, thinking back to our development of this plan, I think that's what number 4 was speaking to, is if they have a home in those organizations, they have a voice through those organizations, and if they don't, maybe we want to hear from them directly. So I think that's something we need to get started, and we'll do that in early 2025. But as a side note to that, one of those groups that doesn't fit in either of those tends to be manufacturers, industry, offices, and the College of Lake County has recently launched a manufacturing alliance, which I am very excited about. It's a membership-driven organization, much like a chamber, but for manufacturers, so they can meet each other. They can, get access to the resources, workforce students at CLC and train and provide input into what they need to see in terms of skills coming out. So that's a pretty exciting new resource for our businesses. Okay.
Back to me.
Back to you.
1.4, this is the last one under fiscal sustainability. First 3 talked a lot about revenues and business attraction and things like that. This one really focuses on the expenditure side and are we operating in the most effective and efficient manner. This is the, second iteration of the GPIC, the Gurnee Process Improvement Committee that we had started. Last budget cycle, when we were going through our budget meetings, talked to the departments submitted some processes that they thought would be good. 2 of those really rose to the top, and that was our permitting process and our UB work orders, the utility billing work orders, are in the field for water-related items. had started to get the working groups together and a kickoff presentation and everything. And then we lost a management assistant in community development that was going to spearhead that permitting process. And my summer got taken up by Lake Com. So I had to push this off a little bit, but we're back in the next budget cycle here, so we'll get this stuff going on the next one. And again, really the idea here is to kind of fight against that, the way we've always done it mindset, and look at a process in each department or a couple of processes every year, and just see how we can improve on it.
Hello. Moving on to well-maintained infrastructure. So the first one's 2.1, so our road network improvements. So far, we've completed basically the steps for this past year, and now we're beginning a new step, so we'll be on step 1. So as the beginning of this year, the average our pavement condition index rating for our road network was approximately 61, which is good. So 1 being the lowest, or 0 being the worst, and 100 being the best. Rating. The recent road program targeted roads with an average PCI of 34 for this year's program. That's categorized as failing. This year we resurfaced 7.6 miles, setting a new program record due to our favorable and competitive pricing. Originally, the plan was to complete 6.7 miles, but we were able to add additional mile to the program. With over 7 miles of resurfacing completed, our PCI tool projected that the overall road network to date, the PCI is now around an average of 64, aligning with our goal of meeting a 60 PCI rating. In the upcoming months, we'll meet with Public Works to develop a preliminary list of candidates' roads for the next fiscal year 26 program. So with that, I'll hand it over to Heather.
So I have item 2.2, which is the Village Utility Reliability Plan. To that end, most of these action steps take place during the budget process. So every year when we come here right before budget time, we go 1 through 7 every time. So just because we're at step 1 again, we've made progress. So therefore, at the present time, we're back at 1. To that end, engineering's been collaborating with Public Works. We meet every 2 weeks throughout the construction season, and then we meet for capital planning outside of construction season, so it's kind of like the whole year. The preliminary focus is on replacing older cast iron mains and eliminating dead-end sections in the water network, and then following the SCADA optimization that we did this year, that also influences where we're going to be targeting some of our water main in the coming year, so that we can do further upgrades to the system, but first, the main has to be of a good age that we can do those changes. For the current fiscal year, though, we recently completed installation of new water main along Route 21. That was addressing issues in a very problematic area of old cast iron main. Going forward, engineering efforts will concentrate on replacing high-break cast iron mains in town elsewhere. Additionally, this fiscal year, we made a considerable investment in the addition of street light conduit, which we hadn't done in a long time. So there we had some wires that were becoming less and less reliable, and so we took it upon ourselves, since we had to replace the wire, we'll put in new conduit so we can pull wires in the future, making that more reliable and a little bit better longevity when everyone's out there digging, hopefully not hitting our stuff so much anymore.
So moving on to the updates for pedestrian improvements. We're on action 4 right now, or step 4. The village annually reviews the Blue Ribbon Commission priority list and has to date completed roughly 6 of the 31 identified projects. Staff anticipates that additional 4 locations will be completed in next fiscal year 26, following the county's project completion on Club in Washington. This year's construction season, the village was able to finish Dilly's Road ped path, half of the road. The priority list, or the priority project, had it going from Stearns to Grand, so we were able to go from Stearns to essentially Nations Drive. And that was fortunate for us that the entire project was funded by the county. For the village's next projects, staff has selected priority number 16, so that's Gages Lake and Route 21 intersection pedestrian crossing. This project, which requires coordination with both the state and the county authorities, will significantly improve pedestrian access to Lake County Forest Preserve's Lake Karina and enhance the accessibility for residents in the Heather Ridge and Cobble Creek community. The village has engaged with Christopher Burke Engineering to lead the design and permitting of this crossing and targeted construction readiness by late next year. So with that, I'll hand it back to Heather.
All right, and last, under well-maintained infrastructure, we have performing a comprehensive standards and mandate assessment. So this was one of my items. Since the last time we've been here, I've been kind of tugging at everyone who is a subject matter expert, essentially. So let me know what's a priority for you, what's a standard or a mandate, or an upcoming new law that's going to be put into place that's going to have either a financial or a staffing or equipment burden on you, so that we can try and foresee those, we can budget accordingly, and we can implement those. So as part of action step 3, recently presented the high priority standards and mandates from the team to the village administrator in advance of the budget process. And so far, that list includes replacing the fuel island due to end of life, continuation of our sidewalk replacement program, to include non-compliant sidewalks that may not be damaged. So right now, we go around this time of year and we look at sidewalks in the different zones, and we highlight all the ones that are broken. But now we also need to highlight the ones that don't meet compliance, whether that's because of slope, because of not having an ADA tile, or things of that nature. So that's being implemented in our inspection process. We also have to meet CLC, JAWA, and IEPA standards with respect to our backup water supply, which requires probably some improvements over at well 1, so we can turn it on without blowing up some of the older cast main that we were talking about earlier. We have to meet standards for emergency communication systems per NFPA and ILEAP through building modifications at the PD to accept our new shared portable generator. Other items included implementation of CISA and MS-ISAC standards related to cybersecurity and information sharing, as well as continuing to achieve a 1,500 gallons per minute fire flow at all municipal hydrants. So that was taking one from every different department and putting them together. So once these items are successful, there could be some operational changes, and that's where items, I believe it's 5, 6, and 7 kind of get implemented as necessary.
So under the strategic priority of effective communication, the first initiative is 3.1 to conduct a resident satisfaction survey, also known as a community survey. So staff researched 2 different survey firms and narrowed it down to earlier last year. And it was POCL and the ETC Institute. They're both leaders in the area of community surveying. The ETC Institute seems to provide a more equitable approach to surveying, and that they sample through targeting a group representative of the demographics of Gurnee, or the community that they're working with. Their initial costs also came in lower than POCL, and since we used POCL last time, we can compare the level of engagement and overall benefit of the survey to determine if the ETC Institute should be used in the future, or we should go back to POCL. In early 2024, a contract was approved at the village board level with the ETC Institute. In the past few months, staff worked with the consultant to finalize the survey questions by reviewing other city surveys, a lot that were close to the area of us, as well as this 2023 National Directional Finder, and also solicited staff input to come up with the survey questions. Additionally, the 2023 to 2026 strategic plan had certain metrics in there that we wanted to include, such as the percent of residents that say the village communicates well, trust the village, feel safe, different metrics like that the departments felt were necessary to include. So where it stands today is that the consultant and staff finalized a survey. It's going to be held until January 2025 to send out. They suggested we do that and not go into the holidays, because they feel like we can get better feedback and more responses. So that will go out in January. Also, at the same time, we put together a business survey, which is in the final few stages. And it will either be sent out in conjunction with the resident survey or a little bit after if we want to stagger it. But it's right now with our consultant. So after that time, we should have a lot of information and a lot of good feedback to basically develop recommendations to improve operations and communications around the village that would benefit every department and the community. So on to Initiative 3.2, to create an interdepartmental communications team structure. The majority of this has already taken place and really continues day in and day out. The communications team members are Sean Gaylor in the police department, Dave Douglas in the fire department, Carrie Suarez is the information specialist, Matt Trujillo for the mayor's office and economic development, and myself for administration and the village. We really work together, like I said, day in and day out. We meet on a monthly basis. The workflow of the team is based on the roles that we serve in the organization. Right now, as a team, we're working on reviewing website providers. It's one project that will affect everyone as well as the community. So we're vetting a new platform, and we narrowed it down to the 3 big companies that provide websites, and we should have a selection somewhat soon to recommend. The team meetings themselves really also just, they serve as training opportunities as we share ideas, concepts, things we're working on with each other, and really just come up with better ways to communicate, different strategies, and just guidelines to put everything together. So far from this team, obviously the output and the quality seems to, really be improving, and I think it's really just all of us collaborating on a monthly, daily basis. So under 3.3, to develop a data-driven communications program, the team has discussed a lot of historical practices and approaches. There's various programs out there, various softwares. Really, all the data for the different avenues are stored in different systems. For social media, it's Agora Pulse. It's our social media management system. So we have multiple platforms funneling into there. When Agora Pulse gives us optimal send times, or optimal post times, they also provide levels of engagement. We could see how we're doing year over year, month over month, what pieces fit well with the community, what we get a lot of comments or questions on. And then really there's a lot of data, well, there was a lot of data in Google Analytics, and there will be more once we get our new website up. Google Analytics should capture in real time our website data. The GovQA platform has a lot of different requests in there, a lot of request data that will be driven down. And then also the resident satisfaction survey will incorporate a lot more data and information to be analyzed. So at this point, it's really, getting familiar with all the information and data out there rather than analyzing it on, just a daily basis or something like that. But through looking at everything, we've done a lot so far, which is we redesigned a lot of the popular publications, such as you may see in the Keeping Posted, the Gurnee recycling guide, that's information the residents asked for, so we put it together all on one page. The year-over-year review, senior services, veteran service guides, different guides to basically get the information out there all on one page and in a pretty comprehensive and understandable manner. Also, we've redesigned a lot of content based on looking at the data and information out there, trying to figure out what is consumed more easily by residents. Expanded the points of contact to get in front of residents in the community more often, as well as executed different communication plans based on all those pieces of information. And like I said before, leveraging optimal send times and post times based on the algorithms that these platforms provide. We also had a website report done, which really looked at the uses of the website, the most visited pages, search pieces of information, and really the evolution of our website. This is, was done by a company specifically for putting together our new website into the future and understanding everything. Once again, we're currently looking at a data analysis, big data analysis of the request system data on the most popular requests so we can stagger them in a more strategic way and actually dive down into each request to type to see exactly what pieces of information need to be recommunicated or things that just need to be emphasized. So that's currently going on now. Under 3.4, to develop a constituent service program. Really, the idea with this one was to basically categorize all the non-emergency village requests that come in either by phone, email, or the service request system, and then try to eliminate them, or at least try to minimize how many we get. The system we have currently isn't that great for it. So once we get the new website in place, we're going to reevaluate the system that goes on the website for this, and then the system we'll be using on the back end, which is our GovQA system, our service request system, to see if there's something out there more 311 based that we could use as more of a data mining software, but also communications platform to basically, answer service requests, but also look at exactly what's going on here. So there's been a few good companies out there that provide this, and we're going to look at that in the future. So that's all I got for communication.
All right, thank you, Austin. Turning to Initiative 4.1, which is update and implement a compensation and non-compensation plan. During this current fiscal, or last fiscal year, I should say, with the assistance of Erica Wells, our Assistant Finance and HR Director, we were able to accomplish the completion of a compensation and classification study. So that kicked off in November of 23 with the approval of the contract to utilize GovHR USA. Internally, we started the process in December, continued to work through that with the culmination of the project presented to the village board in April of 2024. And after that, we were able to implement that within the new fiscal year. So we did go through, and for all of the non-bargain personnel, we did meet individually with each employee that was impacted, so they understood the transition into the new pay plan. They were involved in the process with some interviews, so they had some buy-in from that way as well. And then additionally, when we were working through the compensation study itself, we were also able to initiate a new benefit plan for the non-bargain folks, which was the retiree health savings plan, which is something that employees contribute to on a per paycheck basis, and the village matches with an amount annually. That has been something that's been on our radar for many years, and a lot of employee groups have asked for that due to the cost of healthcare and retirement. Our employees, if they retire and want to continue the village's health plan, they're responsible for 100% of the premium. So there's no cost sharing. So, kind of recognizing that, costs down the line, and it prevents maybe people from retiring when they first want to in order to afford the insurance and retirement. That was a key project that we wanted to get up and running, and so we timed it with the compensation study to kind of roll all of that out together for our non-bargain employees. So that was definitely an enhancement that we worked on through the latter part of last fiscal year. On to the second bullet point, the increased training opportunities for operational effectiveness. This is one of those goals that really never ends. You can't say it's ever completed because training is a continuous process. So we did on the HR side, kind of beefed up the compliance training. So things like sexual harassment training, workplace-related trainings, utilizing an existing platform that we use for our IS training. So we were able to capitalize on that, and throughout the year, rolling out different initiatives for employees to complete the training process. Most recently, we did a Respectful Workplace series. There's other things like diversity, other areas of softer skill training that is still important in the workplace. So we continue to roll that out. Within our other departments, they are also, continuing to work on cross-training opportunities, including a big NIMS training session over the summer. We haven't been able to come up with one platform to measure or track all of the training just because of the nature of police is quite different from fire, which is different from public works. But we might have something that is being installed as a result of the Lakecom 911 consolidation. So we may be able to see if there's a better system to kind of enhance that shared tracking between all of our departments. But within each department, they do have their own management, our own software for managing and tracking their training. So we do continue to make sure that we are up to date and keeping track of all those hours. As part of the annual budget process, we'll continue to budget for training and make any recommended changes that may come out of that process. So. All right, and then item 4.3, implement a professional development pathways for management positions. This is, again, something that is kind of on an ongoing, continuous basis. But most recently, during the compensation study, we did identify additional positions, made some updates that could be for promotional, for internal succession planning. So we did go through that process, and then obviously, we've had to have several promotions during this year due to some staffing. So as of today, we've had 15 internal promotions. Some have been traditional into the lieutenant or the sergeant or the commander or the battalion chief ranks, and others have been for retirements and moving people into those higher level positions or getting them to a position so they can eventually move into those higher level positions. So we keep track of that. We had some promotions in Public Works going to crew leader. So those are always ways that we are trying to develop our staff internally and make sure that we have people in the pipeline for future management positions. As I mentioned, we had new positions included in the compensation study. We do continue to recruit with an eye towards succession planning. So when we have positions, we try to make job postings that are attractive to candidates. Alert them that, this may be something that they can move into the future. So we kind of put our planning, succession planning into our recruitments. Additionally, we always continue to offer professional development opportunities, whether that be going to Staff Command School or, Center for Public Safety, attending conferences and other training opportunities. We always want to make sure that our staff stays as prepared as possible with the current environment. And then lastly is our recruitment and retention efforts with a focus on diversity to meet the needs of the next generation workforce. Again, another priority that is always continuously moving forward. We are within our police and fire departments, not to steal their thunder, but they do a lot of their own internal recruitments. They have their own teams. They attend a lot of the job fairs, career fairs, interact with our high school students, interact with our younger students, make sure that, they're out in the community, not just in an enforcement, but as a education role so that they can highlight, the careers that are out here in public safety. So, we continue to try to reach a broad audience through our recruitment sources, both formally and informally. Again, we try to reach those candidates as best we can. Oftentimes we have candidates that are in the military, stationed overseas, out of the area. So we continue to rely on Zoom in order to reach those candidates and make it as convenient for them to get into our process, have that buy-in and make it something that, stands out from other places that may require them to come in when we can use Zoom. We also try to highlight our benefits, our work-life balance, in order to distinguish ourselves from other public sector employers. We've continued to work with the Civil Service Commission to improve our processes, to speed up our recruitment timelines. That's right now is a big challenge, is just everybody's recruiting. We have the same limited pool of candidates. So whoever can get that deal done the fastest is going to get that candidate. So as we work with civil service, trying to make sure that we can speed up that cycle. And then internally, on our own postings, making sure that we stay ahead of the curve on those things. Again, we generally remain to have a low turnover. Most of it is due to retirement. And then if we do have anybody that leaves voluntarily, we do have, some departments conduct exit interviews just to find out what's going on, if there's something we can improve on, so that feedback comes back my way. If there's other changes that we can make, we certainly work together to get those done. And then lastly, there is a strategic onboarding assimilation program. We haven't quite gotten to that point across the board, kind of coming out of my office. But within each of the respective departments, they do have their own methodologies of making sure that employees coming on board get assimilated into the workforce, understand the rules, the regulations, the culture, that they have those tools to be successful. One of the things that I was just recently talking with Erica Wells was, one of the things that we could do to kind of enhance this would be, as we have all these new supervisors being promoted, a lot of them don't understand their role in relation to human resources or even finance. So that's something that we want to work on, is developing a training program for our new supervisors, our sergeants, our lieutenants, so they understand what happens when an employee gets injured on the job. Who do I talk to? What's that process? So they're kind of learning trial by fire, and that's not always the most effective way to learn it. So over the next, maybe year or so, that's something that we want to work on, getting that together so that we can give our supervisors more tools to be prepared to be successful on the job.
All right, good evening, thank you. Strategic priority, safe community. I'm going to move into initiative 5.1, create a public safety recruitment and retention plan. Deputy Chief Dave Douglas from the Fire Department and I are going to share this one. I'll cover the next two, and then he will wrap this up with initiative 5.4. Obviously, recruitment and retention are extremely important, and they have been for a long time, but far more important in the last few years. And so I'm going to concentrate a little bit on the police department. As you guys have heard me say before, in the last 3 fiscal years, we have hired 41 police officers at the police department. And so we really see these two, recruitment and retention, intertwined. So much time and effort and energy has gone into recruiting and hiring that it's extremely important that we retain those employees, and we really start that with the village in and of itself. It's Gurnee is somewhat easy to sell to those who want to get involved into a service-oriented profession like policing, because we are really supported by both the community and the board and village staff. And so sharing that with all of our officers, making sure that they understand how valuable they are to the organization, and we reinforce that with our pillars over at the police department. 2 of the 4 pillars are about service, and we'll touch on these, but service to the community and service to the organization and the team. Last year we came before you and we talked about, we had built out the recruitment teams in both the police and the fire side. Commander Kalinowski was in the process of doing his staffing analysis, his staffing study on best practices for recruitment and retention. And so really just want to talk about what some of the things that we have done to implement post that staffing study. And I want to tie this all in. I talked about it last year. We see recruitment, retention. We really see that tied in with succession planning, with career development and wellness. And so in all 3 of those categories, we have begun to really place a lot of emphasis on those things. To HR Director Palmieri's point on succession planning and training, that has been at the forefront of the police department for a long time, throughout my entire career here. But we really went from a very experienced and well-trained organization to a rather inexperienced and less trained organization. And so what that means is there's a lot of opportunities available today for our new officers that are coming into the organization. And so having the support from the village to be able to provide the training that they need to not only prepare themselves for furtherance in their career and succession planning, but to get them involved in the opportunities that they see in policing with specialty assignments and things along those lines. And so that's really important. There's been a strong focus on that over the last couple of years, in particular the last 2 fiscal years, and there will continue to be a focus on that moving forward. As far as the recruitment retention side, again, we've redesigned our website piece as far as when we recruit and what we're offering, the information we're sharing, both on the village website and on social media. We've begun to focus a little bit more on individual employees and highlighting them during the recruitment phase. And again, tying that all into retention. We want you to come here, and we want you to stay and make a career out of that. And so we have a new process in place that really is kind of more like coaching in recruitment, and that starts in day pretty early in the process, where we reach out to those that are interested and that are testing in Gurnee. We make contact with them via the phone, and we start that recruitment process. We follow that up with a recruitment letter, and then that individual conversations with that recruiter plays out through the entire hiring process. Once they get hired and they move into training phase, they get assigned a mentor. That mentor follows them through their entire police academy, where there's contact through that entire service, and just really reinforcing that they're important, that we care about them, and sharing them all the information that so that they're informed about the community and the police department. As far as how that plays into the retention side, again, really important that we're preparing them, but then also taking care of them. And so with your support, we have begun the build-out of our wellness room over at the police department, and that is really about giving them a space where they can decompress, giving them an area within the building where they can kind of recover from the stresses and the anxiety of the job. And so, again, with your support, we've begun to add equipment to that room for relaxation, and that includes a massage chair. That includes bringing in a massage therapist, a chiropractor, a physical therapist that we bring into the organization monthly, really, I guess 4 times a month, to provide services to them so that they're feeling recovered and they're energized and feeling like they're taken care of. We still have more work to do on that, and that ties back into the middle piece on budgeting. This is really ongoing and asking for your support as we continue to focus on recruitment and retention. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Douglas to talk about the fire department.
Thank you. Good evening. So specifically for the fire department, with retention, with recruitment, we've certainly made a bigger presence on social media, and we've also taken that tailored, we like to call it a red carpet service, where we are actually calling the candidates, making ourselves available, myself, Lieutenant Perry, and Battalion Chief Steffens, who are part of the fire department recruitment team, to let them know and that they can call us. They have the cell number for me, so I could receive a phone call anytime if they're having a question regarding applications. And we're finding out that a lot of these candidates they've filled out applications, but for the first time, they're really filling out detailed and very comprehensive applications. And so we're trying to help them through that process. So that's where we've taken a big step towards having this one-on-one conversation with each of the candidates during the recruitment process. One of the items that Chief Kavanaugh has done for retention for our staff is to give them also a place to decompress. So with the remodel of Station 1, the bunk rooms having their own separate private rooms allows the men and women of the fire department to be able to go into that room after a bad call, a stressful call, a very memorable call, to kind of decompress, be by themselves, close the door, and again, to get them refreshed and revitalized for the next call. 24 hours on some days can be up to 24 calls, and some days it's less, but any opportunity for them to just kind of decompress and relax and just get away from it for a moment, get away from the noise for a moment. It's been very helpful, and I've personally gotten a lot of good feedback from staff on the room. So, as far as, I just want to touch base on just our recruitment opportunities. So one of the things that we've done is we've always gone to the high schools and to the job fairs and career fairs. We're certainly now, with a change of our categorization of hiring candidates, we're at minimum now to allow them to test for the fire department as a paramedic, day one paramedic student. And then we'll send them to the fire academy. So we're working a lot with tech campus, hitting a lot of these high school students that are coming throughout the county to the tech campus, and now also going to the paramedic classes. Battalion Chief Steffens and Lieutenant Perry just recently went to a paramedic class the other day, they get time to meet with all the students, inform them of the opportunities at the Gurnee Fire Department, and see if we can, another recruitment opportunity. So we've definitely seen some strides and steps that we've made from the recruitment and retention practices that Commander Kalinowski has passed on, and it is ongoing. We're still researching. We still have got a couple more years left in the strategic plan, so we're going to continue to research those best practices as we go along.
All right, as we wrap up that recruitment and retention, and I talk about wellness, I know I've mentioned this a number of times during the budgeting process, but part of that is providing wellness presentations to our staff. And so this current calendar year, we were able to bring a presenter in who provided 4 hours worth of wellness conversations to all of the employees in the police department. We followed that up with a family event on a Saturday, and we brought family members in and introduced them to the same presentation that was appropriately named the best backup. And so as we continue to budget for those each year, we'll have a focus on wellness. Initiative 5.2, developing a public safety community engagement program. Obviously, this is very important and something we're very fortunate in Gurnee to have the ability with the community support to be out and involved and be invited. This is a very critical component to policing and establishing trust with the community so that they will assist us in their time of need so that we can assist them. As I mentioned earlier, this has been one of our pillars of policing for well over a decade now, and it's really focused on community impact, community involvement. And so we're looking for every opportunity that we have to be involved in the community. We're involved in a number of bigger community events, but a lot of smaller events as well. And I just want to focus on a couple of those. Some of these are joint police and fire, and one is police, fire, and public works. But we just completed our second annual Lake County Police and Fire, Law Enforcement and Fire Expo at Gurnee Mills. That's in May every year. It will be back again in May of next year. And we're very fortunate to host that out of Gurnee Mills. A couple of other things I think everybody's aware of, Big and Small Helmets for All. Our officers are out recognizing the youth in the community that are practicing safe biking, and they reward them by providing them coupons to a local Dairy Queen for free ice cream. Cops and Bobbers, I talked to you about that last year, and it was a huge success, even bigger this year. Really puts the police officers out with the youth in the community to fish, and hugely memorable for most of our officers. This year it was like 95 degrees, and I'm sure they didn't appreciate being in all their gear out there. But it is one of those things that they enjoyed doing, and the community had a lot of fun with it. Obviously, we have the Gurnee Days festivities, focus on elderly and Valentine's for seniors, and our senior support presentations where we go out in the senior homes or the senior communities and provide them some additional relationship with the police officers, but then also some information and training on how to protect themselves. Citizens Police Academy, we're currently in our fall session right now. We are already taking reservations for our spring session. We do already have people reserved for that starts in February. And then this year we were finally able to bring back our Youth Academy. That was something that started before COVID. We were able to bring it back this year. It was a great class, very successful. We're already in the midst of planning for next year's. And so just a couple of the highlights for the bigger events. Training in the Park was the last that we just completed. And that was a joint training session between police, fire, and Public Works. And thank you to the fire department for allowing us to join them. Again, part of that community engagement program is really being available. And so just in the last couple of months, we've provided active threat training to Gurnee Mills, to Great Wolf Lodge. I know I'm going to focus a little bit of this on the next slide. But just being available. 2 years ago, we started a conversation here in Gurnee with a presentation on a Illinois targeted violence prevention program. We did that 2 weeks post the Highland Park 4th of July incident. And that had been planned here for months. And it just happened to be the timing was that it was 2 weeks after what occurred in Highland Park. And so we continue to share that information. We are looking to expand on that this year. And that really just moving from targeted violence to a Lake County-wide program. And so Lake County was selected as a pilot program that will roll out here in January 2025. It's called Protect Lake County. And there'll be more information that comes on that. But some good things coming from community engagement programs, and we'll continue to do everything we can to be involved in the community. Initiative 5.3, create stakeholder relationships and strategies. Again, really talking about having relationships with those throughout the community that we have working relationships with on a daily basis. And so a lot of times we focus on the big three, and those are very important. We have the appropriately timed meetings with them each year. Six Flags before the season starts, the schools before the school year starts. During the middle of the school year, Deputy Chief Gahn and I just finished our fall meetings with the superintendents for the districts. Gurnee Mills, we have one coming up here in 2 weeks, right before the holiday season starts, and then again the schools in the spring. So we always focus on those. But what else can we do? And we have really good relationships with most of the intergovernmental stakeholders throughout the community. But being involved and being available. And so we continue to provide active threat presentations and training to any business in town that asks for it. As I mentioned, we were just out in Great Wolf Lodge in September. They were closed for 3 days, and we were involved in a really corporate-wide training for them in their building for all of their employees. And then 2 weeks ago, we were at Gurnee Mills doing the same thing at 7 o'clock in the morning before the mall opens. And so we have some other threat training coming up for some of the banks in town. But really just being available and having those relationships and knowing that most of the businesses in town are comfortable calling the police department and asking for really anybody. And so it doesn't start with the chief. It's at the supervisor level, and those conversations are ongoing. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Douglas for 5.4.
Okay, Initiative 5.4, update our comprehensive major incident training plan. As Christine said earlier, one of the first steps that we can do is just get everybody up to speed and up to levels with the NIMS training, and we have done that. Now what we're doing is, after having identified the target hazards in Gurnee, the hotels and motels, assisted living facilities, independent living facilities, schools, and especially our hazmat sites, we are starting to create, and we've always had them, we're just now reviewing them and updating them just to see what we can do better now with our pre-incident and pre-arrival emergency plans. So there are plans that we have that are available to our fire officers, our ambulance officers, anybody who's responding to a call. They can pull it up in their mobile MDT and see a plan. The plan includes dimensions of the facility to allow us to know what fire flows we need, how much water we need to put out, fire at the building, hazardous materials on site, hydrant locations, if we can get around the building, all valuable information, aerial views. So it's been quite a process for our department, but right now we have firefighter Ryan Seifert, who's been working on that, and he's been providing some very, very comprehensive, updated pre-plans for all these facilities. And this will go above and beyond the target hazards. This will go for every building, but right now we are focusing on a lot of the target hazards for us. As far as any interdepartmental training and multi-agency training, just recently we were working with Public Works. If you didn't realize, as part of MABUS, Public Works is due to a lot of trench rescues with their vacuum truck, with their shoring vehicle. So it was essential that we were able to train Fire Department and Public Works together. So recently we had a joint training between the two departments and what their roles and responsibilities were at a trench rescue, what our roles and responsibilities were at a trench rescue, and more importantly, it just provided us an opportunity to see each other's resources and how effective they can be, especially when I called Heather one day and I said, Heather, I don't know if you realize this, but your vacuum truck and shoring truck are due to many, many, many communities. So they'll go as far as Lake Forest. I know for sure that they will call Gurnee Public Works for their vacuum truck for a trench rescue. So again, it just made us more operationally effective, not only for our community, but when their staff go to other towns, they'll make them more operationally effective as well. I do see in the future that having talked with Lieutenant McNeil, or excuse me, Division Chief McNeil, our training officer, had a very brief discussion with Chief Smith. In the future, you'll be seeing more collaboration between police and fire. There's plans for another rescue task force training, so we'll be working together and again getting updated on our the equipment that we have for those types of rescues and just honing in on our operational effectiveness for those types of calls. With that, I'll turn it to.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're into the sixes, Initiative 6.1. This is an initiative that asks the village to develop a partnership program with our small businesses. We certainly are, very focused on, as the chief mentioned, our big three. We know how important those are, but we all know that the small businesses are the fabric of our community, so that's what this one is all about, putting that into action. The temporary outdoor dining guidelines. During COVID, you'll recall that the restaurants had to pivot very quickly and offer outdoor dining. And we sort of operated on some temporary guidelines for a number of years to keep that very easy for them to do. We streamlined it. Didn't require a permit, and if we had to require a permit, there was no fee. So essentially, through action that the board took last spring, we codified those into permanent outdoor dining guidelines, which allow restaurants to continue offering that without a permit as long as they can do so without impacting traffic flow. So if they have a sidewalk in front of their business and they can maintain standards, noise, trash removal, things like that, they can offer outdoor dining without a permit. And if they do need to impact the parking lot, they come to us, and it's a very easy, streamlined process. So that was good to get made permanent. Guidelines on hosting special events have been sent to businesses. We are certainly wanting to encourage that. Throw up a tent in the parking lot and have a special event. Let us know what you're doing, but we think that promotes connectedness between the businesses and the community, and it certainly is something we'd like to make easy for them to do. The Gurnee Farmers Market continues. This was the 4th year. Next year, we'll celebrate the 5th. You'll recall that we certainly appreciate 2 centers hosting that, Riverside and now Saratoga Square. The village supports that event with a $3,000 sponsorship. The Chamber has partnered with us on a number of events. So just to kind of quickly relay those, because these are ones that involve our business community. The Gurnee Days Parade this year, we had 121 business people walking with us in the parade. So we extended that opportunity. The Village and Chamber did kind of a support, shop local, dine local, support local, and had an entry in the parade, and it just gets bigger and bigger every year. The Chamber provided bingo at Gurnee Days this year for the first time. It was intended to be a fundraiser for them, and it was a great way to get their name out into the community. Bonfire and Brews, as you know, we did increase our attendance this year versus last year, and that will be, I hope, a treasured tradition every year. Also getting bigger and bigger, we're looking forward to Holiday Lights at Weldon Plaza, coming up on December 5th. The holiday train returns on December 7th, and I mention these not only because they're right in front of us and fun family events, but because they involve our business community. So this is the chamber being right there at the table with the Park District and the village, and we're having, bringing in small businesses as sponsors for these events, showcasing what they do. So it's very much a business collaboration. Small Business Saturday is the weekend of Thanksgiving. The village and the chamber will be collaborating on a shop at least 3 businesses in town, take your picture, submit it to us, let us use it on social media, and you'll be entered to win gift cards. The village is purchasing the gift cards. The chamber is helping to collect food donations. So another good collaboration. Thank you to the Public Works Department for the banner program, which was launched with the chamber this year. We now have 3 sets of banners. As you'll probably notice, our hometown heroes are up there now, celebrating Veterans Day. And prior to that, we had Gurnee Days banners with a new logo this year. And prior to that, we had the winter banners, which you'll be seeing again as we move into the winter season. So that was a nice way for the chamber to make a little money and get their name out, and we made it happen operationally. Funds are budgeted to support a number of events. I won't go through them all, but you know them, and we always appreciate seeing your faces at them. The village does support a lot of community events and more in future years, and it has been a wonderful way to meet the community. And of course, as you've all treasured Matt as much as I have, Matt Trujillo, our new community engagement coordinator, has made a lot of those happen and will continue to be our connection to the community. So Tom's Tours, we've done 12 of those this year. We've celebrated 15 grand openings and ribbon cuttings with the chamber. We track larger projects through Projects in Progress monthly, and Keeping Posted, which is quarterly, lists new businesses and coming soon, again, to show the small business community that we're promoting their name and what they do and where they're located. And then lastly, we've known from the beginning what a great asset it is to have Alpha Media at Gurnee Mills. Due to some changes in the way those stations are organized, our weekly Gurnee's Got It program sort of has to be reimagined for the future, but we're still working on that, frankly. They have fewer staff than they used to, but we like that. We like that asset, and more important, or probably as importantly, or at least as importantly, their use of the show court, which is at the north end of Gurnee Mills, has been really, they've really ramped that up post-COVID and Gurnee Mills. So I think there's some opportunities there for the village to sponsor some events, link some of our other businesses into that stage area, and create some of those connections that may not be there right now, but we're thrilled to see that being utilized. And I think this might mean turning it back over to you, Mr. Gosnell. Oh, maybe not, no. Who's doing 6.2? You want me to take it? I'll just keep going. I will take it. The 6.2 is a similar concept to the business events, but really this is about reaching the community. So whereas the prior initiative was about encouraging small business connectedness to the community, this is neighborhood to neighborhood. So there's been a lot of effort put into a new Neighbor Up Block Party grant. Again, credit to the mayor and Matt working together to launch that. We've had 21 block parties for 2024, and that is up from a range of like 11 to 15 per year. Grant might have had something to do with it, but then that was the point. That was the point of encouraging neighborhoods to get together. In fact, there's one that's still yet to come. There's one neighborhood that gets together for a holiday, luminaria lighting, and Santa shows up, and they do sleigh rides around the neighborhood. And if we could have more of those, that's the way to throw a block party. So really pleased that has materialized the way it has with a lot of hard work. Again, streamlined. Those block party permit applications can be submitted online, very easily approved. Working on a connected community plan is in the early stages. I don't honestly have much to report about that. There's a new volunteerism initiative. I hope I'm not stealing the mayor's thunder, but the mayor and Matt are working on a volunteerism initiative which will make it the needs of our nonprofits more easily known to those who are in a position to be able to help, which is a wonderful connected community sort of initiative. And so we'll share more on that as that evolves and is put out to the community. Really, a lot of progress, thanks to the police department and Austin and others, to really solidify our HOA contact list. As you know, from the way HOAs function, the president and the officers change every year, so keeping an updated contact list has been really difficult. So we have a pretty good list at this point, and we'll be using it to make sure that we reach out on more and more issues, and we continue to identify champions for those neighborhoods that don't have HOAs. That's a little more challenging, but we're making progress on that through our outreach on these other initiatives that we're asking them about. And then lastly, I think the last item, step number 7, harkens back to what we've already, I think, covered pretty well, which is that there's a plethora of events that are offered by the village, by the Park District. The ones I had on my list that we may not have mentioned yet: Families on the Fairway, the Sounds of Summer. The village participated in making some additional concerts available for Sounds of Summer. Training in the Park was mentioned, First Responders Expo, the Holiday Lights, Holiday Train, and the Halloween Fall Festival, which just happened. I'm not sure we mentioned that one, but that's been an expansion, again, with the Park District. So one more reason to celebrate and be appreciative of the collaboration among the agencies. Oh, I guess I get to keep going. All right. 6.3 is the initiative is to develop a relationship with regional multicultural agencies. I will take the first one on this, and I believe maybe Director Palmieri or others have things to add. Okay. We have identified several partner agencies throughout Lake County. That's a big no, huh? And really, some of these agencies became known to us. I hate to keep referring back to COVID, but the truth was that we did get to know them because they were the connectivity to their communities. So a lot of them are. So the initiative is for us to make sure that our workforce and our boards and commissions are more and more reflective of what Gurnee looks like. So we are going to be reaching out. We've got an interdepartmental group that has been identified but not yet convened. We will be convening. I don't think they know this yet, but I'm sure they'll be game. See your names on that list by the end of this year to just understand what we think the goals are. But I will share, and if I'm not jumping ahead of anybody who wanted to talk about this, I just think these numbers are very impressive. So according to the Census Bureau, the ethnic diversity of Gurnee is 32%. As a village, we have made progress every year, significant progress. So our racial or ethnic diversity among our full-time village workforce in 2018 was 9%. It went up to 19% in 2022, then to 20% the next year, then to 23%. And that's where we stand today. As of mid-2024, we are at 23%. That doesn't mean we're done, obviously, but we've made significant progress. Among the employee groups, police is 24.5, public works is 24, fire is 19.6, and village hall is 20%. That's a significant improvement among all of those employee groups. Couldn't get out. I really just need to do a shout out to Gilly in this section. I think Gilly, the Gurnee Youth Leadership Initiative, will be a good advisor. It already is a good advisor for us in terms of what we need to be doing to be mindful of our diversity goals. And I think while we haven't, as a group, been out to Warren Township High School, they have come to us and given us ideas, and will continue to do so. But a lot of you have been at some of the at 56 and 50 events that have occurred throughout the community. So more on that, and as we develop a story to tell and really feel like we want to talk about our initiatives, we will be doing an article in the Keeping Posted to talk about where we're at with this goal, which again is never fulfilled, but is an ongoing goal. So. Mr. Mutes? No?
Yeah, here. Well, State of the Village, weren't you working on that one? I thought you were. I'll take it. although I know.
I think my voice is probably ready to
All good.
rest.
So the last one, create opportunities for community engagement around strategic priorities. So again, some of this stuff, we've been working on some of it. Jody was involved in and with the changes in staff. But first one, host annual State of the Village open house to review the strategic plan progress and allow key residents to interact with management personnel. We've got some dates that are under consideration for this meeting. The open house would precede it. That would involve reaching out to homeowners associations and the neighborhood representatives that will identify to see if they'd be interested to come and listen to that presentation. Then kind of a open session afterwards, just kind of meet and greet, informal. The QR code of the keeping posted with the resident satisfaction survey coming up in 2025. So that's going to collect more general information. We'll take that and then see if there's some more targeted topics that we want to conduct smaller surveys on with the QR code and the keeping posted. So haven't got to that one yet. Like I said, waiting for the resident satisfaction survey results, which is Austin said will be coming January 2025. So we'll have that a couple months afterwards. Abbreviated executive summaries of village documents. So again, Austin hit on some of these, but the year in review that we do, the popular annual financial report that was out in the summer of 2023, construction schedule that Nick works on with Austin, the recycling guide, the veteran service guide, the senior guide. So some of those just one pagers, like Austin said, that we hadn't had before, to just try to narrow it down, hit the highlights. More detailed information can be found on the village website. So I've made some improvements on that. And then just the opportunities to interact with Village Hall or actually meet the residents where they are. So again, this goes back to the block parties, a lot of the events that the mayor hosts from the Tom's Tours and the coffee, the ice cream, story time, summer camp, all those. Pizza with the mayor. Yes. I think you did beer with the mayor once, maybe.
Yes.
So
right.
Those opportunities.
Hard liquor next.
Where you get
sure.
The mayor, some other trustees tag along out in the community. The training of the park was mentioned. The village and the chamber, Ellen mentioned that, the 15 ribbon cuttings that they went to this year. Again, village staff at that, get representatives from police and fire, the village border out there. So again, just getting out of Village Hall, getting out of our departments, getting out there in the community. So again, I've made some progress, but there's always more to do, as the mayor says. So we'll continue to hammer away at those. So that's where we're at as of now. So the next update will be with the budget process. So we just got this finished up this afternoon. That's why you didn't get a copy until tonight. But now that's been finalized. Austin will get it on the website. So with the with the strategic plan, the other progress reports, so that'll be out there for the community. And again, as you look through it, some of the time frames we haven't hit, but we're continuing to work on those. So as was said earlier, got a little bit of time left. Some of them are ongoing, so it's completed with the fiscal year and then just start back over from scratch again. So, but it's been useful. It's helped guide staff. It's helped guide resources through the budget process. So again, it's a necessary exercise. I think it's been productive. Hopefully you feel the same way. And as you get some more time to take a look at that. So if you have questions as far as where we're at or something we're doing or something we're not doing, reach out, let us know, and we'll continue to work away on it. So.
Oh, good. All right. On to item number 2, Small Business Capital Investment Grant Program updates.
Yeah. Matt's going to handle that for us.
Okay. Hello, Village Board. This is an overview of the Small Business Capital Investment Grant Program that I oversee. We're in the 4th year of this program and have seen very good use of it so far. There have been many grateful businesses that you'll see in my presentation. So far, 50 different businesses have been awarded through this program for capital improvement projects such as HVAC, plumbing, electric, and similar improvements that stay with the locations. As you can see, we have a good variety of businesses using the funds. Some of these businesses have received multiple grants. I have just counted them once in the tallies that you see here. As you know, there are two separate grants. Both are one-to-one matching grants. The smaller of the two is the impact grant, which began with a maximum award of $10,000, but has expanded over time to allow a maximum award of $20,000 per site. In the lifetime of this program, $500,432 in impact grants have been paid out, with $581,000 awarded so far. The roughly $80,000 difference in these projects, the $80,000 difference that you see here is for projects still in progress this year, projects that are paid out once they are complete and the businesses have fully paid their contractors. The Transformational Grant Program, which I will discuss a little bit more later in the presentation, started in fiscal year 2023. This is a one-to-one matching grant for projects over $100,000, and the recipients receive $50,000 in grant awards. Two transformational grants are awarded per year. $200,000 has been awarded so far, and $50,000 has been paid out. The reason for that difference, there were two $50,000 grants that were awarded in fiscal year 2023, but one of them for a proposed soccer facility did not decide to proceed with this project, so they withdrew their funds. Additionally, our two grant recipients from earlier fiscal year 2024, they're still working on their projects. They will be paid when the projects are over. They receive about 18 months to complete their projects. And then the last item that you'll see there, so overall, the approximate project investment back into the community is around $4.2 million, as Ellen mentioned earlier. So right here, you'll see the fiscal year 2022 impact grant projects. This is the first year of the program. You'll see a variety of things there. You have interior construction, new roofs, parking lot lighting. Here is fiscal year 2023 impact grant projects. So a little bit of an increase there. We ended up with $148,132 in grant awards. This is fiscal year 2024. The budget allowed us to go slightly over the $150,000, which is usually allotted for impact grants. And then the last, this is fiscal year 2025, the current fiscal year that we're in, and these are the projects to date. We are currently at $138,347 in awarded funds. Many of these projects are still pending completion and will be paid out later this fiscal year. As you'll see, we are close to the $150,000 for impact grants. We anticipate to review and accept a couple more of these pending applications that you see at the bottom of the chart, Popovich Photography and then Meyer Machine Supply and Equipment. If more applications come in, we will do our best to award those if possible or if the budget allows. Last, I talked about it earlier a little bit, but these are our two transformational grants. So that first started fiscal year 2023. Our first two were Loza Properties and then Top Shelf Ice Rink. So Top Shelf Ice Rink, that project is completed and paid out. The Loza Properties one, that was for a soccer build-out. That app was withdrawn, so those funds were not used. And then fiscal year 2024, those are the projects that we presented the board in spring of this year. Those are still in the planning process and are planning to get started in 2025, but that's Top Shelf Ice Arena again, and then Gurnee East Point Shopping Center with a facade improvement. And those have not been paid out yet because they've not been completed. Okay, next are 2 testimonials from local businesses that I received. So the first is Gurnee Garden Center, who needed their roof repaired, and the grant helped support their roof replacement. They were very grateful for this grant opportunity. The second one is Brittany's Event Center, a new event venue in Saratoga Square that made plumbing and electrical improvements to her space. She thanks the mayor, village board, and the Economic Development Committee for their commitment to small businesses and their understanding of how vital small businesses are to the overall growth of the Gurnee business community. And there's a photo from our Tom's tour there that we did with her. Okay, and then some current efforts that we're doing. So we have targeted mailings sent to the property owners in the East Grand Corridor. That's something we did this past summer, and also to the shopping centers and independent restaurants. We continue outreach to new qualifying businesses in the area. We continue to work with current applicants to secure funding and help them through the permitting process and such. And then consistently highlighting our Small Business Capital Grant Award recipients when possible. Okay, then we'll jump right into it. I know this kind of looks a little bit familiar to the board. We did have our transformational grants presented to you in spring. That was for the previous fiscal year. Our selection committee, they have decided to move it from the end of the fiscal year earlier into the fiscal year, so that's why you're seeing it twice right now. As for next fiscal year, you'll see it about the same time. So that's why they're so close right now in proximity. But moving forward, we'll have the application process start in about August. We'll start reviewing applications in September and then have a decision to you guys around late September, early October. Okay, so we have 2 worthy candidates for the transformational grant are being forwarded by the selection committee for your review. The first, Comfort Inn, is located at Gurnee Mill Circle and has 3 different projects included in the grant. The first is changing out locks on all guest rooms to be upgraded and work with modern check-in systems. New flooring in all guest rooms will be changing to LVT tiles from carpet to make for easier cleaning. And then their final item is replacing their pool system to keep the water in the pool clean and circulating properly. And then the second candidate is Country Inn and Suites, which is replacing their roof, which is currently damaged and leaking in certain areas. This is a full replacement of the roof and will be replacing any damaged wood as well. As our committee discussed, hotels are one of the first things visitors see when they are staying in Gurnee. Therefore, these 2 investment projects are very important for keeping Gurnee a great place to stay and visit. And then that is it. Any questions?
So I think we'll do questions not only for you, but then for the whole presentation as well. And actually, before we launch into that, if you could, Matt, if you could just describe the process that's followed when an application is made for funds, how that's decided, and who's the members of the group that ultimately pick the transformational grants.
Sure. For the transformational grants, we met in mid-September, and we had about 5 applications. So what we did prior to that, we've been kind of advertising, putting on social media, emailing out to our business contacts about the opportunity and what it entails. So we had 5 applications come to the selection committee, and all projects are over $100,000. We review those applications, make sure they're actually eligible first. There were a couple in there that weren't eligible, so those got taken out. So after that, we're just looking at how it will impact the community and how it's gonna just make an impact and value that wise. And also, Yeah.
So then the members, I believe, are Karen Thorstensen,
Yes.
Nick Phillips.
Yep, Nick Phillips from Advia Credit Union, and then Jim
Sula.
Sula. Yes, correct.
So the decision's made there, and then that's what's ultimately brought to the board, is it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. So I'm going to start to my left, and if there's any questions for Matt or for anybody else that made a presentation initially, Kevin, if we'd start with you.
I don't have any questions, but I thank you, Matt, for that excellent presentation and update. And I just continue to be impressed with how staff uses the strategic planning process as just as a guideline and a map to keep moving forward, and how it dovetails with the budget process. So thank you all for your continued hard work, and well done. Thank you.
Trustee Balmas?
I don't have any really questions to, you guys are very thorough, and I really appreciate all of your efforts. And probably have questions, but I'll call.
Trustee O'Brien? All right.
I can't add anything to what they just said, so thank you very much for all of your time and efforts. They're fantastic presentations from one and all.
Trustee Thorstensen?
Well, one thing I wanted to say is that I'm really grateful for our village staff for our strong financial management. So I take that beyond our finance manager to all of our group here, because that does affords us the grant process, which I think is terrific that we can reinvest back in the community. So that's the one point. The other point, you mentioned it earlier, Pat, so I think what I'll do is I'll just email you and Ellen. I had some more questions about the Triangle property in terms of what we've invested to date into that to help make it more attractive, but I could just follow up. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Ross?
Just want to echo, good job, everyone.
All right, so I guess my final, the compensation study, which I appreciate, Christine, I think that we spend so much time sometimes thinking about the unions and trying to make sure that we do the right by them. I really appreciate the timeliness in bringing that forward, because it's important to me to see that our non-union staff is well compensated, that we compare really well in the community, and that's just something that we need to pay attention to. So thank you for heading that up and making it happen. So, and again, that's just reflects on how great a job you guys do. So thank you.
I do want to add.
Sure.
So since we are considered employees, do we qualify for that massage?
You're welcome to stop on.
They'd be happy to adjust you, Jeannie.
So I'll just say quick on the grant program. So Matt had mentioned we've almost expended the $150,000. So we'll just see how it goes as far as what comes in for the remainder of the fiscal year. So I mean, if we get another $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 worth, I mean, we can probably find that in the budget someplace. But if they continue to come in hot and heavy, then we'll probably come back to the village board, see what we can find. But we may get to a point where we have to say, thanks for applying, but you're gonna have to wait until after May 1. So it's good to have those lined up. We'll see how many more come in, how many we can, how many meet their requirements, how many we can work with them on it. So we're just going to play that by ear. And then the 2 transformational grants, so that was kind of a sneak preview. So those will be on the next November 11th Village Board agenda for formal consideration. So just wanted to give you kind of a heads up of what's coming. So we'll do just a quick recap that meeting, but those will be on the next agenda. So,
Mayor, can I ask one
Trustee
dovetail on that? Thank you. Just quickly so I remember back in the ULI, which was 2016, 2017, we talked about facade improvements. And again, I'm not asking for an answer tonight, but since we've got a facade improvement, and we're at the near end of our grant pool of money, I'm hoping that maybe Ellen or Pat, as a recap, you could let us know where are we getting, so when our businesses decide they don't want to come here, is it they've gotten far enough and then they go, well, you know what, it's because the facades aren't attractive. I just trying to get your thoughts on what is an important spend for us to get better businesses. Are these mutually exclusive, or are they, things that we really should help encourage for that? Or it was like putting our telephone wires under the grounds. You remember all those discussions? So what is it, what are those kind of strategic or long-term thoughts that would help? Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Trustee Bowles?
Just a shout out, because I've been nuts about this, but thank you banner-wise for the veterans one. I really am very pleased with it, and I posted it online, and the people's response to, they're so proud of the community for even doing it. So I want to thank you, Austin, and the Legion for doing that. And then I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second by Trustee Thorson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.